everybody, it is Romania Black, and we're on volume 16 of Attack on Titan. And I've been told by Patreon, I want to say this before we even start, I've been told by Patreon that coming up tomorrow, I'm recording this on July 1st, we're coming up tomorrow, there is going to be a trailer for the final part, which I'm really excited about. I'm not watching it, obviously, because I'm going in spoiler free, but I am excited to hopefully get like a tentative date on when the final part will come out, because that helps me plan things out a lot. So don't worry, YouTube, Patreon will let me know when that final part is going to air, and that's going to help me kind of plan out what we're doing with this with the rest of the volumes, because I want to time it to where we're getting to like right when it comes out. It's like all builds up to it, so we'll see, right? But we're going to be looking at volume 16 of the manga today. I'm really excited about that. I've got a lot of comments to talk about before we get there, though, so I'm going to dive right into those. Morales talking about Eren's flashback to the Levi squad in volume 13. And if you look at the very center of all of the 104th Division, there's Sasha. And I was like, oh no, she was the first and so far only one of the crew to go. So I don't know what that says about what's going to happen in the final parts, but we'll find out. So yeah, I'm very excited to see what's going to happen. But yeah, that part I was like, yikes. Robertoso 4061 talked about how there are more Levi and Erwin moments that were cut from the manga than were in the anime, and was saying like their point was in their comment that there might have been a subtext of some type of relationship between Erwin and Levi, and the anime chose to cut that. I'm not saying the anime is against any possible BL elements, and that's why they cut it, but Roberto kind of says it kind of seems that way. So I don't know if I prescribe into that exact notion, if it was intentional for that reason or if it was just extra moments, but we do get a lot cut, which is very, very sad. Joseph ZG9I says that Erwin feeling guilt or regret for his fallen soldiers. Is this the first time in volume 13 that we actually get that? And that's a really good point. Like, Erwin in season 1 seemed very much, no regrets. They're all just pawns. They're disposable. They are a means to an end. And around volume 13, it's the first time we actually see Erwin kind of showing that remorse or guilt for what's happened. My argument would be, to kind of go on that, is that this is the first downtime we've had for Erwin. And when I say downtime, I mean him not fighting Titans for his life that we've seen the entire series. Up until now, it's been like military action after military action. And not to say that that's not happening with the coup, but the military strategy is a lot different when you're facing the government versus a horde of Titans. So this may be that Erwin's always had this guilt or remorse, and this is just the first time we're actually seeing him having a moment to be able to reflect. Like with Zackley, he has the moment to sit down and kind of reflect and tell us, the audience. Could be, right? But I thought that was interesting to bring up. Alexander Q points out that Eren is a twist on the chosen one and hero protagonist narrative. Yes, if anything from volume 15 has shown us, the moment we get that flashback with Grisha and Eren eating him, it's like everything that you thought you knew about the hero and the protagonist and the chosen one narrative is completely flipped upside down. And I really like that. We were talking about that in the Discord because I was asking people like how they felt when these chapters came out. I went back and looked at Sin is around episode 6 of season 3. So I went back to see, I was like, what was my reaction to this discovery? And my reaction was, I was flabbergasted and bombarded with too much information to sit down and think about it. Because I remember it happened in the opening of episode 6. The end of the end of volume 15 is the start of episode 6 of season 3. Instead of ending an episode on it, you start an episode with it. So there's so much going on. You're bombarded with all this information. It's like you didn't have time to process it in the anime, and now getting to reflect on it reading the manga, I'm like, man, it hits a lot harder, and you have time to let it sink in and go, oh my god, this changes everything. This is like the first one of the checkpoints of changing everything. Warrior was a checkpoint, and this is a checkpoint, right? But I thought that was really interesting, and it also is tying to real people who are burdened as kids with similar trauma and what it inflicts upon them. Like Alexander Q was talking about their own father dealing with similar situations of like, being a child during wartime and having to deal with certain things. And yeah, it's very much Isayama saying like, this happens in real life. It's still happening. So the idea of Eren's burden and how he feels and just being shouldered with all this at a young age is something that's sadly still happening in our current reality. So it definitely is. I like that Isayama took something that is a narrative trope and gave it a very realistic spin. Although Isayama, I will argue for Attack on Titan, Isayama goes full on the hopeless route at times with this trope, and it's like, oh my god. I live for Armin being like, we can work this out, right? And Isayama being like, who knows? You know. But I appreciated Alexandra's comment. Alex Johnson talks about Historia's decision to be a queen and how it's very different from the manga versus the anime, because in the anime, the decision making happens kind of after what's going to happen in volume 16 here. So for Historia, she kind of, Alex Johnson was saying, you know, she's going to have, and again, I'm trying not to get too ahead of the game. I like to experience it as we go through the manga, but talking about how Historia, with it happening right off of season 2's events, Historia is kind of a shell of herself anyway, because Ymir is gone and there's all the stuff with that. So Historia is not even sure like what her identity is at that point when Levi confronts her. Whereas in the anime, Historia is going to go through the events of this volume here and kind of get some determination of her identity, and it's going to change the way that the scene plays out. So I'm glad that was noted. And also that Levi's aggression towards Historia fuels and impacts Sasha, Connie, and Jean, especially Jean, in how they view the events with the Jaegerists later on. And Alexander Q had pointed out something similar of how Jean and Levi are kind of similar, which I thought was very interesting, especially when you think of how Jean is influenced by Levi's actions in volume 13. So I thought that was really, really fascinating to connect back to. And also that it's gonna, you know, connect back to the idea of people being ignorant of the whole truth. Alexander Q also noted this, like when we get Zeke's, you know, I like this because there's this idea, Alexander Q, I forgot to mention this, pointed out about how Connie, you know, how Connie reacts to Reiner and Ymir. It's not so much that he's mad that they, you know, knew about what was going on, but the fact that they didn't tell him. The fact that they didn't think he could handle the truth. And Alexander Q is noting how that's going to play an impact later on when we get to the wine and Zeke, and how the lack of information and ignorance can lead to a lot more damage than just telling people the truth. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. CW said that Wit Studio only had 12 episodes to work with. And this is the part that pisses me off, if I'm honest. They were saying, and some others were saying, about how like people were losing interest because there wasn't Titan battles, and I'm gonna call bullshit on that, because that's just stupid. Like, one, I'm like, when we get to season 4, half of season 4 doesn't even involve fighting Titans. It's just involving political intrigue and conversations, and nobody bitched about that. So I'm like, what? That makes me so upset, because I'm like, one, I lose faith in the fandom when I'm like, this story is clearly not just about, like, by the end of season 1, you should know as a reader that this isn't just about Titans. It's about so much more than that, and that it makes me lose faith in the reader's intelligence a little bit, because I'm like, do you not see what the whole point of this all is? It's not just about Titan battles. Like the Titan battles, when I'm reading the manga, I'm like, yep, action, whatever. I want to get to the character development. I want to get to the political intrigue. I want to get to the stuff that matters, to the themes. And so that just makes me kind of upset that like the fandom was having a negative reaction. And I get they have to wait month to month for chapters, and that is a lot of waiting, and there's a lot going on. But like, there was so much that's interesting in those chapters that I'm like, really? You were bitching? And what gets me is that later on when we get to season 4, especially season 4 part 1, like there's a significant amount of things happening that don't involve Titans at all. Like Reiner's whole deal, the backstory, all of this. Were people bitching then? Like, I can only imagine. I don't want to know. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Let me find out on my own when we get to it, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But I was just like, really? Now, I do understand if Wit Studio only had 12 episodes to work with, trying to fit it all in. That is a significant, you know, problem to have to work with, and you're in those constraints, so they had to pick and choose events. But if it was because people were bored, I'm like, go read something else. You don't deserve this fandom. You don't deserve this series if you thought that was boring. Get out of here. You're not a real fan. I'm going to be one of those people. You're not a true fan if you're just here for the Titans. Shut up. Get out. So yeah, I was kind of like, are you freaking kidding me? Like volumes 13 and 14 have been some of the most interesting volumes of this entire series so far, and that you thought that was boring? Get out. I'm not going to judge anybody for their preference. I'm not. But saying that when people are like, oh, I'm losing faith in the fandom because it's just not exciting, I'm like, get out of here. You're not a real fan. Whatever. But anyway, and then Dossie Dossie had a lot of comments for volumes 14, talking about, Levi. What I find fascinating about Levi that they were talking about is that he grew up around violence, and it's a part of who he is. He grew up with Kenny in the underground. And what I like that Dossie pointed out is the fact that we see that it's a side of his character, like him being violent against Eren in the courtroom, him him torturing Sanus, him being kind of rough on Historia. Like, violence is a part of Levi's character. And what's interesting is that Isayama doesn't try to fix Levi. It's just a part of who he is. Like, that's not to say Levi's not compassionate. He is. And we get to see that side of him too, that he is compassionate. He does care. He does have a big part of humanity within him. But at no point in the story do they try to tell Levi that he shouldn't be violent, they should stop that, right? Because at the end of the day, you find out that's part of his character, but there is more to it than that, right? There's more behind the means. He's not just being violent for the sake of malice. There is something to it. And I appreciate Dossie pointing out that Isayama talks about that this series doesn't try to make the characters perfect versions of themselves and the best they can be. It very much presents them as the messy humans that they are, which makes them relatable to us, the audience. And I think that's why people really connect with this story, because we can relate to a lot of the things the characters are going through, which is really, really nice, right? And plus, the thing, though, that gets me, too, is that I don't want a dog series that do the characters becoming best versions of themselves, because I think that's a great thing we should strive for as humans, is to be the best version of ourselves. One thing about Attack on Titan's world that I do consider a little bit of a criticism is that the way Isayama designs this world is that oftentimes there are no good solutions, right? And there are no, the characters don't have time in this series to become good versions of themselves or the best versions of themselves. They just have to work with what they're given. And one thing that I do kind of critique the series for a little bit is that that's not how the real world completely functions, and I think some people try to make it that way. Like, I've read some comments during the anime that people were like, our world's just like this and there's just no hope. And I'm like, but there kind of is. I mean, we don't have Titans bearing down on us, not in reality. And I feel like I'm an optimist, and if you're not that way, that's fine. But when people try to tell me in the comments, they're like, well, you're wrong for thinking there's hope. I'm like, do you not get the message of the story? Isayama's saying, it's Attack on Titan's kind of a cautionary tale of don't let it be this way, right? But Isayama kind of goes the extreme, and he presents it to where there are sometimes no good options. And I think that that's not entirely reflexive of our own world. I think in our own world, yeah, there's going to be times where there are no good options. Don't think I'm saying that. But there are lots of times when there are. And so I feel like sometimes people compare this a little too much to our own world, to the point where it gets a little detrimental. And I'm like, there's a fallacy there, but whatever. But yeah, I do think that that's interesting that Isayama sticks to his guns and presents characters as flawed as he does. I like that. In chapter 57, Hanji describes Eren as the personification of teenage rebellion. Yes. And then we'll see that later on in season 4, part 1, with Hanji and Eren in the jail cell, where she's like, you're still in your rebellious phase. So it's a nice little callback to that. And then Mikasa choosing to trust Levi choosing to trust Levi and help the Survey Corps over pursuing Eren. I'm glad Dossie pointed that out. It's a major character change for Mikasa, showing that Mikasa has grown so much, because in season 1, she was fighting Levi tooth and nail to go after Eren when Annie took him. And here it is so cool how Isayama makes that character development so subtle, where he doesn't preach, he doesn't call it out, but just Mikasa, the fact that she chooses to help the Survey Corps, to help Levi and let Eren go, is a major thing for her character. And I really didn't really appreciate it as much till Dossie pointed it out. I'm like, that's a really cool thing to note. So yeah. And then Christopher Peterson finally was noting how, the mutiny probably was going to happen eventually, whether the Survey Corps was involved or not. Because looking at Zackley and how he was planning it too, and told Erwin, he's like, sooner or later it was going to happen. Somebody was going to cause a mutiny. It's just the Survey Corps took up arms and decided to do it themselves, which I think is important to note. But I will say this real quick before we start. I know that I've watched the anime, but I'm rereading the manga to refresh myself in the events that have happened, but also I'm trying to take it volume at a time because one, my brain can't handle anymore. And two, I don't want to get the cart ahead of the horse and start talking about things that are going to happen in the manga for seasons 3 part 2 and season 4 yet, because I want to experience it as we do it. So please be careful. I had to tell a couple people in the comments, be like, I don't want to talk about the manga for season 4 yet. I don't want to talk about the manga for part 2 yet. I want to experience it naturally, because as we've seen with this series so far, there's been major changes, and I want to experience those changes as we go, because I have a feeling we're not done with them. So that's just something, like, if people, I had to tell a couple people in the comments being like, I'm not talking about season 4 yet. I know I make reference to it all the time because I'm using my brain as connecting things, but I don't want to get too far ahead of myself and lose track of what's happening in the now, right? Because otherwise my brain will overload and I'll shut down. So yeah, I've talked for a solid 15 minutes. I think that's long enough. But I still have some comments for volumes 13, 14, and obviously 15 that I'm going to be getting to before we get to the next volume. And then I'll probably next week talk about what I hear from Patreon about the release date and what we're going to do with that. But I have gone ahead and bought volume 17, and I bought No Regrets. So at some point I'll fit No Regrets in there. We'll just see with what we find out with the date it's coming out. So yay. But anyway, I'm ready to start this, y'all. I hope y'all are too, but we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to start volume 16 of Attack on Titan, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Ooh, this cover. I was like, the cover, if you didn't know what was going to happen in this volume and you saw Historia with the syringe, ugh, I like the composition of it. The background is pretty plain, but I like the idea of Rod Reese's skeleton like overlooking her, like overbearing her. Also kind of looks like the Founding Titan, so there's that. There's that going on. So, you know, you have that symbolism there, but what can we do? And then Historia. Chains, welcome party, dreams and curses, and wish. Ooh! So episode 5 or 6 is sin, and then episode 7 is wish. So we're slowing down the pace a little bit, right? Maybe. The anime for season 3 part 1, just from what I've watched, going back and looking at my reactions, I'm like, everything's all jumbled up. So it's like, I have no clue at this point what's coming when, right? We're just gonna have to cross this bridge as we go, right? But fascinating. All right, and we got everybody here. Marco's still there. That's funny. Chains. Oh, Frida girl. Oh, wow. Look at that. Like her reading the book. It's so bizarre because they show her like as a person here, right? Like she was she was the Founding Titan, but she was also a person. Like just making things more complicated with that humanity, right? And then Historia saw it, yeah. How was it that I'd forgotten all this time that I wasn't alone? I had her. And of course that's gonna, you know, try to persuade Historia, because she realizes like Historia's always felt like she was alone, and so Historia's kind of latched on to people that pay her mind, like Ymir, and like in this case with Frida. And so of course that's gonna impact, you know, how she thinks about things and how she acts towards Eren, because she realizes her sister was there the whole time. Also want to make note, Eren's like at the formation of the 8-pack started already. I remember when it happened in season 4, again, connecting to it, that I was like, man, he's ripped, but we forget that they do all this ODM training. So yeah, he's got abs. He's always had abs. Yep, she taught me how to read and write. How could I have forgotten her? And Rod didn't know that she knew Frida. Your half-sister. Yep, she must have erased your memories to protect you. It's so weird to think that they had the ability to the Founding Titan had the ability to erase memories, which again is tying to Eren having that power now. I don't want to know what's going to happen. My biggest fear for the end of the series is that Eren's going to make everybody forget him, and use his power as the founding titan to make them forget. And I'm like, I have a big issue with memory tropes, and when people make people forget, that just, it bugs me to no end. And I'm like, Eren, don't make them forget, because this whole series has brought up the idea of how important memories are and how we should remember things and how memory is tied to our knowledge of things. And so I feel like if Eren makes them forget him, it's just going to be so counterintuitive to the message that's been brought up in this whole story. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Did Eren remember something too? Where's Frida now? Well, you see, Grisha ate her. So there's a thing here. Yep. My wife and our children. I once had 5 children, and they were killed by Grisha Jaeger. So yeah, you had the 5 again. Yeah, the 5 plus the wife is 7 plus Historia is 8, and then Grisha makes 9. You know, like you do. And then we have Grisha screaming at them to stop. And we have the children. That one guy of Rod Reese is the one boy. He's really tall, right? I like how Isayama makes them all look similar. Mm-hmm. He had the Titan power. I don't know. I didn't know who he was, but I do know he came to steal the power of the Reese family. God, that expression on Grisha's face. And knowing that when we go back, we're going to see Eren talking to him. Oh my God, that he didn't want to do this, but Eren made him. Oh my God, that panel. Oh my gosh, how terrifying. What Grisha sought was the Titan power inside of Frida. Yep. And then the 2. Her Titan power is the greatest of all. An invincible power. She didn't have the experience to exploit its full potential. Oh my God! It just ripped, like, he just ripped the whole spinal cord out. Oh! And the thing of it is, Grisha didn't really know how to use that power either. He was just fighting, like, when had he used that Titan power before? Never. So the first time he was using it was against her. Oh my God. Yep. And then he eradicated the Reese family. And this whole time Eren's like, why did my dad do this? Yep. He's Dirk, who was 14. Abel, who was 12. Florian, who was 10. Yep. And Erklin, our eldest son. I was the only one who survived. Which again, I don't think, and then he left. My poor sister. How could he do such a terrible thing? The thing that gets me is they look down at Eren, and Eren's like, I'm not Grisha. I'm not my father. Historia, what the fudge? And then Kenny's like, hey, I'm still here too. Yeah, the military coup was a huge success. Good for them, right? Oh my God, Kenny. They're going to find this place. That was my plan. Why are you still here? And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, King. Did I make you mad? I'm looking for a bathroom. I gotta go take a shit. Oh my God, Kenny. And Rod trusted Kenny, yeah. But Kenny's out for his own agenda too, so damn it, yeah. I remember at this point in the manga being very frustrated, but this point in anime being frustrated with Historia, because I'm like, girl, what you doing with Eren, right? But knowing Historia through the manga, Historia is a lot frailer than she appears. She's a lot more selfish than she appears. She's a very flawed character, and she's easily manipulated. But if you know her backstory and how she's been raised, it kind of makes sense, right? Oh my God. Speaking of number 2, wow. Zach, that chair. Oh my God. That looks so disturbing from that angle. Shit. Wow. Your blood is slave blood, not noble blood like ours. You'll soon lose your memory and you won't know how to shit. Oh, yeah, saying that Historia is going to gain the power back and then make them all lose their memories and do exactly what Rod Reese wants her to do. Yeah. It's like you and your father theorized. They have the ability to alter memories as they see fit. But they're claiming some bloodlines, including theirs, aren't affected because they are not Eldians. So the nobles are not Eldians. Which brings up a really good point, right? So it's like anytime anything mixes with an Eldian, they're automatically Eldians. That's how their population kept getting bigger and bigger, right? So these nobles that have been lasting 100 years, that must mean that their families are only Marleyans or non-Eldians. So were they just like all inbred and they just kept it in the family, or was there like a group of them? Like that's something that Isayama in the anime didn't really expand upon. So maybe the manga will, and we're assuming the Ackermans are not. But the Ackermans are interesting too, because the Ackermans supposedly aren't affected by the memory altering, but they're Eldian mixed too. So is like the Ackerman genetics just that strong, or how does that work? The Ackermans are still like a big question mark. So I'm hoping the manga will refresh some of that and get more of that in there, right? If Reese gets a hold of Eren's scream, then it'll be like this uprising never happened. Yeah. So and he's like, the government's in Zackley's hands, so he's gonna keep torturing him. I don't understand him and his twisted desires. You knew, my tongue slipped. I had inkling of Zackley's ambitions, but I'm not a betting man, and I care more about the number of surviving humans than my own life. That is a huge difference between Pixis and Erwin. Pixis, like we've said, is all about the majority, and he would rather sacrifice few to save everyone than worry about his own agenda, right? And I feel like he didn't think that Zackley's ambitions were something that were a threat, and so he didn't really act upon them. Whereas Erwin just wants to get his wish, his dream, and isn't afraid to sacrifice people to get there, but he's very conscious of what he's doing, so it's very complicated. I went along with your plan because I feel it's the best for humanity, but if the crown has been vindicated, I had to prepare myself to fight against Zackley. Yep, I like that Pixis is like, I had to be prepared to do whatever strategy was going to be the most beneficial for humanity. Someone sang a song once about how man would one day give up war. How long ago was that? Oh, wow. I like that Pixis is like, he's like, and listen to how we talk about our comrades. I like that, again, Pixis, I love that he brings up the idea here. He's like, are we ever going to get to a point where we're not fighting amongst each other? I can just bring up that theme right now, right? And he says, people won't stop fighting each other until the human population is down to 1 or less. And that's such a good point. That I feel like that ties to the whole point of this series. That one line. There is always going to be conflict between people. We are always going to disagree about something because we are not all autonomous. We're not all the same. We're not all this homogenous group. We are all similar. We're all dissimilar, even though we're humans. So I feel like Erwin's getting to the fact of we're always going to argue. So what do we do? And I feel like Armin is going to take that notion along with Hanji and some of the others and expand on that, being like, look, we're always going to fight, but it doesn't have to get so far as to having war and slavery, right? There can be ways that we compromise. There can be ways we can agree to disagree. There can be ways we negotiate. There can be ways we compromise. Like, at some point, you have to sacrifice something to gain something else. True freedom isn't possible. And I think that that's what Eren keeps striving for. And Armin's like, we can't have that. And what even is true freedom, right? What even is that? Like, is it just little things? Is it like to be free from everyone? Like that concept, I love that we're going to explore that from here on in based on that one line Erwin says. But yeah, it's like you're always going to fight about something, but what do? You've got to work with it somehow, right? I was hoping for something more than cheap rhetoric. Yeah, and I mean, again, those are words. It's rhetoric, we're always going to disagree, but what do? And Pixis is like, what can we do beyond this, right? And so Erwin's starting the operation to go to the chapel. Meanwhile, Kenny the Ripper, the biggest obstacle if he's there. Yeah, and so we're all prepping for this. He's like me, but on the enemy side. No, he'll be even harder to deal with. Yep, then how do we beat him? So it doesn't sound like Kenny is invincible. Yeah. Levi, how is it you don't know more about him? Didn't you live with him? I didn't even know his last name until yesterday, but it's Ackerman. Do you think you're related? My parents were still alive. They told me that my father's family, the Ackermans, were persecuted inside the cities. My mother's family lost their home too, possibly because they were Asian. When my parents met, they'd been driven deep into the mountains near the walls. But my father never knew why the Ackerman family was persecuted. He didn't seem to be a different race like my mother. Mm-hmm. And we know that she was one of the ones driven from Marley and from there. And then the dad, yeah, his family, he just managed to make it out. And then Levi, Mikasa, did you experience a moment in your life when it felt like a power awoke inside of you? Yes, I did. Yeah, and Kenny and Levi feels the same way. Kenny told me that he had a moment like that too. He felt a stupid amount of strength surge in his body and knew what he had to do. I had a moment like that too. Ooh, maybe I need to read No Regrets next. Yeah, I had a moment like that too. Yep, Yep, so we're bracing for that. So we're all tying them together. Levi and Kenny and Mikasa. Oh my God, the way... Oh... This is what made me mad, was because I feel for Historia. I feel for her loss, losing her sister. But when she gets mad at Eren, I'm like, Eren didn't do anything. He didn't have any part in this. It's like he didn't have a choice. Why are you mad at him? Oh. And she's like, what is that? What is that indeed? Why is there the syringe? And Eren's like, I know exactly what this is. Oh my God, yes, the parallels. The parallels between Grisha and Rod and Eren and Historia. This is kind of what fueled my like of Eren and Historia together, is because they share so many similarities, especially with their dads, until we find out that they're very different. But you know, Frida hasn't died yet. Her memories live on. Do you want to meet your sister? You'll be the one to avenge your mother. Yeah, and so we have these two things. We have Rod trying to convince Historia that she'll see her sister again by eating Eren, and then you have Grisha saying that Eren that these bastards took your mother away, Carla away, you have to avenge her. It's like, oh my God. I love the side-by-side of Historia being like, I want to meet her, and Eren being like, no, this is not what you want. Oh my God, that frame. Yep. And then there's Marlowe outside the church. Here it is. The secret door. Oh my God. Yep. Okay, and they're all got all the preparations made. Ready to get your hands dirty. Ooh, because we're going to be fighting Kenny's squad. We're going to be fighting the people down below to save Eren. I feel like there's such a comparison here versus when they fight the Jaegerists later on. But again, we've got so much that's going to be discovered between now and then. It's going to change everything all over again. Okay, yes. And then there they are, all perched out, ready. One of them is Levi. Yep. And then it's going to be a melee. The last time we encountered Levi, he killed 12 of our comrades. But is this any different from the extent of life inside the walls? We face an unstoppable threat, the Titans. There's no telling when they'll breach the walls and destroy us. Why did we all choose the military police and join the interior squad? So yeah, they're all MPs that join the interior squad, which is something, because when we started season 3 out, I thought they were like a band of rogues, but they're all MPs. Because in this meaningless world and our meaningless lives, we hope to find some meaning. Why not keep believing till the end? It will pay off. In Kenny's dream, we can grab the world by its roots and flip it upside down. And it's like, what is Kenny's dream? What does he want? Why are we believing in all this? Yeah, and again, the parallels to Reiner and Bertolt and them, like the meaningless lives, how we find meaning in this world, all of that. They're coming. And then there's the canisters. Oh, yeah! The barrels with the gas. And it's to shield them. Yep. The fire's burning full of oil. Yes, and the smoke. Oh, that shot of Mikasa and Levi. Oh. Yep, and then what is that? Signal flares, like using the scouting equipment. And then Levi saying there's 35 enemies. 35 of them against 7. Like, oh my God. Like, just no worries, right? Oh my gosh. How big it is. This place can't be man-made. The walls are shining. There's an anti-personnel squad trying to draw us in so they can exploit the vertical maneuvering. Yeah, because there's not very much room to move around. Yes. I like this shot. Sasha's sleeping there as Hanji's talking to Armin about what they should do. And then, yeah, they're trying to turn us into bacon. Where are they? Oh, Jean. And then, yeah, Jean killed the one guy as he looks at him. Oh. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then Connie, same thing. Again, we're going to have this whole thing go down all over again with the Jaegerists. But it'll be a totally different context. But it's still that idea. I love that this series does not glorify in this moment that they're killing these people. Instead, they're like, isn't this awful? Isn't this terrible what they have to do? What they've been drawn into? But at this point, there's no other way. So it's just, ugh, I hate it. And then Armin and Sasha. Yep, this is bad. What's with this woman? Mikasa, yeah, right? No kidding. Yep, and they'll wipe us off. One of them has to show an opening. And then Hanji, are you in a rush to die too? Oh, Hanji, God. Yeah, I worry about Hanji all the time. I'm like, because Hanji is a fighter, but I feel like Hanji's one of the weaker ones of them. Hanji's good at strategy, but when it comes to like brute force, I worry about Hanji a lot. Yeah, like her getting rammed up against the pillar. And then Levi, I like that Levi's the first one we see. He's like, Hanji, nope. Where are you, Kenny? Meanwhile, Eren's like, damn it, no! And she's like, why are you glaring at me like that? And I like, Historia almost seems like she's like looking at Eren like, why are you looking at me like this? And Rod's like, he realized where his sinful life has led him. I'm like, Eren didn't ask for any of this! Damn it! The power he stole is going to return to its rightful place inside of you. Uh-huh. The same as the three walls. Yep. And the Titan that it's not all the Titan graces with. It wished for a life of peace for the humans that remained. So it altered humans' memories. Mm-hmm. A handful of bloodlines were unaffected, but neither their descendants nor any other humans remember anything about the ancient history of the world. No one knows how the Titans appeared. Yep, getting the founding Titan all up in this. Except for Frida. She knew everything about this world and how it came to be. Which makes me feel so badly for Frida, you know, and this because she shouldered all of that, right? And so when Historia said that she wanted to be like Frida was so sad about that, being like, no, you don't want to be like me. You don't want to know all of this. Yep, because of what the founding Titan's like the problem with the founding Titan, right? The seal that it has. I feel so bad. And we see Yuri up there. Yep. She ate my younger brother. Mm-hmm. And Uri was ready to go. And at this point, we don't know about the fact that Uri's going to die, that they only live for so long. Mm-hmm. Yep, it's been performed for generation after generation for 100 years. Yep. Yep, no one has ever chosen to reveal the secrets of the world. And she has like the seal where she can't talk about it, right? Yep. If Frida used her Titan's powers, none of this would have happened. Well, but here's the thing. That is such a, like, when Rod said that, I was like, they were all gathered in the chapel as Bertolt and Reiner had, like, pushed through. So, like, what? You didn't stop it, so, you know. How would you have been able to rid the world of Titans? That's bullshit. Yep, then why is this happening? Because it's now inside of Eren. Only the power can be used by the descendants of the Reese's royal family. So as long as he's its vessel, then the hell won't end. Yeah, because Eren overrides, since he's not, you know, the blood of the Reese family, since he's not the Fritz bloodline, that's, Eren isn't controlled by the vow, so the memories aren't being altered. So there's that. Yeah, so it's not, like, it's not the fact that the hell won't end, it's the fact that you can't hide anymore, is the real thing. And then that's when Kenny goes, so wait a minute. So whoever eats Eren can become the true king if they're part of the Reese family? So there's no point in me turning into a Titan and eating Eren? Nope. that's when Kenny's like, wait, so my whole plan is bogus? I can't just take the syringe for myself? Yep, okay. Dreams and curses. Oh, good, we get backstory, yes. You're gonna die soon, Kenny. Did you kill more military police? The ones stooping around here are feeding the trees now. I didn't mean to spoil your trip to the afterlife, but I finally found my little sister, Kutchel. One of her customers got her pregnant. She won't listen to me and says she's going to have it. Yep. It looks like for the other branch of the family, they've moved south near Shiganshina. So there's two branches of the family, and one stayed there and one moved south. Okay. Yeah. I guess someone got in the way of their business. They're still poor. Didn't the Ackermans used to be a warrior family close to the crown? Oh, a warrior family. Okay. Well, we know that warriors are like the titans that are specially chosen to defend Marley, but we know they can't turn into titans, right? So, interesting. There's only a few of us left. The whole clan's on the brink of distinction. What did we do to make the monarchy hate us so much? Why? Don't you love your grandson? The grandson I doted on has become Kenny the Ripper, terror of the capital. I had planned to protect you from the monarchy by taking our ancestors' secrets with me to the grave. The monarchy doesn't hate the Ackermans, they fear them because they can't control us. My generation was the first born after humanity moved inside the wall, so it's not as if I know everything. But I do know that our clan was the royal government's sword and shield. We had a key role in ensuring humanity's continued survival. Ooh, okay. The sword and shield. The rest of humanity, the vast majority, did not belong to one of those central houses. We're one people who came from the same bloodline. Aha, yes. Okay, so there's all these, the nobles and everything that are meant to shield them that can't be affected. They're not Eldians. The one major race living with the wall, alongside a few other bloodlines, each have but a few members. One of those, known as Asians, a people vastly different from us. The problem was their existence disrupted the king's ideal system of rule. Right, because they could go against them any time and he couldn't control them, right? He hoped to rewrite the memories of all humanity and wipe out history and realize his dream of perfect peace and order. The power of the Titans. Generation of kings have inherited and guarded the power of the Titans. They use that incredible power to build the giant walls to protect humanity and eliminate humanity's history outside. But the memories of those people from the minority bloodlines, including ours, were not affected by the king. It only works on Eldians. Yes! So, the king has to use other means to silence the minority bloodlines who are not affected by the Titans. While most of the lines obeyed, two groups objected the king's philosophy. Oh, they gave up their status and turned their backs on the monarchy. Two groups, okay. The Asians and the Ackermans. Okay. And Mika says both, right? My father's generation didn't pass on humanity's lost history to their children. He hoped to protect the children from the purges. Ah. Okay. In the end, the head of our family offered his life to ensure the survival of the Ackermans and was executed, but his sacrifice was pointless. Oh. And then we see how Kenny's aged from that time to that time. So, basically, Mikasa and Levi. Now, Levi, not being able to turn into a Titan, I'm guessing the Ackerman bloodline just overrides it no matter what, because he would technically be, right, he would be half Eldian, right, if Kutchel just had relationships with a random customer, unless that customer was of Marleyan bloodline. But then Mikasa, if the Ackermans all stayed within their own little clan and didn't mix, then the Asians and the Ackerman bloodline having Mikasa would mean that she wasn't affected at all either. And then, yeah, there we go. Okay. Yep. This is your precious succession ritual, isn't it? Yeah. You used me. And he's like, I always thought my brother was taking a stray like you off the streets was another of his crazy whims. Oh, if you insult Uri one more time. Yes. Oh, my Kenny and Uri ship. I'm so ready for it. Yes. Give me Kenny and Uri. All the Kenny and Uri. Yep. And then, yeah. Historia, you poor thing. Don't you get it? He's going to turn you into a monster and make you eat Eren. Aren't those my orders? What's sad about becoming Titan saving humanity? Do you think it's your mission to eat your friend and upset your little tummy? I'm going to bring my sister back and inherit the history of the world and wipe out the Titans. But she won't be able to. That's my mission. Did you forget what your dad did to you? You were born in the first place out of someone's misery. This man disregarded his place in the world just so he could feel good with a house servant. Your mother had told you she thought if things went well, maybe she could have become the master's wife, but your existence was a disgrace to his subjects in the assembly. Everyone wished you'd never been born, including your daddy here. But then, those pedigreed brats of his went to their maker in one night, and he came to find you. Yep. Because his paternal instincts kicked in and he decided to start loving on his daughter. Bleep wrong! He needed your blood. Yep. He doesn't want to turn into a Titan himself, so he keeps ordering his brother and his daughter to do it. Yeah. He was too afraid. He tried to hide the fact they were dead and the power of the Titans had been stolen. I love Kenny just losing it here. It's great. He didn't give two shits about any of it. Not you. He just wants to protect himself. I can't become a Titan. Yeah, like, why couldn't he become a Titan? There's a reason you can't trust anybody else. Like, why not? Why couldn't he become one? I know humanity will find the right path. And then he's like, tells Kenny he's free, finds something else to live for, and die an old man. That doesn't sound too fun. Oh my God. Just turn into a Titan. I won't get in your way. But count to 3 first. Oh my God. Both of you can become a Titan and fight to the death. Oh my God. And then him cutting on Eren's head. Oh my God, I forgot that. And like your head bleeds so much. Wow. This shot will let you become a powerful Titan. I chose the Titan that was most suited for battle. Eren's still in the restraints. Oh my God. This is just insanity. You just had to bite through his spine and ingest the spinal fluid. And Kitty's like, well, bye! I've caused this chaos. Time for me to go. And she's like, why don't you turn into a Titan, Eren? I'm just going to eat. You're just going to eat. And why don't you do something? And here we have the moment where Eren's like, nope, I deserve to die because I'm a monster. What never needed to happen. If my father hadn't done what he did 5 years ago, your sister would have been able to take care of everything, right? And the thing of it is, Eren feels so bad about all of this. But it's like what he doesn't. The insane thing is that Eren is mad that Grisha did this and it caused everything to happen. But then Eren's going to go back and make Grisha do it. It's like, Yep. So many people died. Armin. I like that Armin's granddad is the first one that comes to mind. Armin's granddad, for all you Eren Armin shippers out there. Thomas, Mina, Melius, Knack, Marco, the people I'd forgotten. Everyone in Levi Scott, Stohess, Mr. Hannes. I like Mr. Hannes, he just barely whispers it. It could never have been all. It didn't need to happen. All those dreams about what could be past the walls. I never needed to happen. And that's when Historia realizes that Eren is exactly like her. And that he feels the same way she's felt. She's wondered why she's been alive all these years. And she thought Eren was different, but he's the same as her. And the way she felt when her mom left her is the way that she feels like Eren feels now. Eat me and save humanity. It's up to you now. So, I mean, on the one hand, if she had eaten Eren and inherited the Attack Titan and the Founding Titan, what would have happened, you know? It's hard to say. Obviously, I don't think Historia would have used the rumbling, so I think they all would have died, but I'm like, it's so weird to think of what's going to happen. That day, Eren, you called me normal, and it made me happy. Oh my God. She's like stabbing her arm with it. And then there's everybody. Oh, man. And then what a tease. What a tease. She stabs herself with a syringe. And then we see the flash, and it's obviously we don't know what's happened because we're going to go back to Rod. Oh my God. Yes. I was talking in the Discord about how we were talking about like these chapters came out monthly for the Attack on Titan. And now I want to start paying attention to where the chapters end and see the cliffhangers that Isayama left y'all on. Oh. But no, it is not Eren. Nope. Oh my God. Wish. And her seeing Ymir. Oh. Oh, a splinter. And then she sees Ymir there. Let me see. A wood splinter. I tried to go and see you. You tried to cross the fence. Dedicate your hearts. Oh, you know you shouldn't do that. You can't cross the fence. Just like the wall. Like it's a representation of the wall. You're trying to do a good deed, aren't you? Oh, Ymir! Didn't I tell you not to cross the fence? Oh my God, like her telling Historia what to do. Like she can't cross it to keep her safe. You just have to inject the serum. Oh my God, that's terrifying. Why didn't my sister fight? Yes! You've got no guts, Historia. Transform into the ruler of this world. Not just Frida in the 100 years since humanity was first trapped by the Titans. Oh my God, I love that it's the syringe is in her arm. It is bleeding. I'm like, girl, you're lucky there's no residue on that. Why didn't the Reese family get rid of the threat of the Titans before? Frida would start acting like a completely different person, like she was possessed by something. She'd say that we were sinners. Uh-huh. And she'd get really depressed. Like there was something constantly troubling her. Was that because she inherited the memories? Did she inherit the first king's ideology too? Ah! The first king Reese, the man who created the wall and wished for a world where humanity was ruled by the Titans. And Eren's like, wait, what? He believed this was the way of true peace. I don't know why. It's only known to those who see memories of the world. And she's like, well then wait a minute. Oh, and we see Uri and Rod. I learned it. My father acted the same way when he inherited the king's ideology. My brother and I wanted him to free humanity from the Titans. We'd ask him time and time again, but he wouldn't grant our wish, and he wouldn't reveal why. But the day came when my father had entrusted his role to a son. My younger brother volunteered himself, but he gave me a mission. He said he wanted me to pray. When I saw my brother's eyes after he inherited the power of the Titans, I understood what he meant. He'd become the sole creator of this world, the ultimate governing force, an all-knowing, all-powerful being called a god. Our word for that is God. Yep. Whether humanity is fated to perish or survive is in God's hands. Which, again, is going to tie back to Eren talking to Ymir in Memories of the Future, being like, you're not a god, you're just a human. You're just a person that was given all this power and responsibility, and you were never a god. You were just a person that had this circumstance. But it's funny that Eren's like, you know, in the T-pose as the word God is being brought up, you know, just some subtle symbolism there. Yeah. And I just want to pray. What other choice do we have? No matter what happens, there's no hope for humanity with the king's power inside of Eren. But I'll be controlled by the ideology like my sister and all the heirs before. All we can do is pray. And Ymir says, I have no right to tell you how to live. This is just a wish of mine. And she's like, everybody else is telling me to let God dwell within me. It's the way my father wants me to be. Oh, live your life with pride. Oh, that shot of Ymir. Yes. Ymir's like, I'm not going to tell you how to live. Live for yourself. Don't let anybody else tell you how to live. Live your life with pride, and then it's yours and yours alone. Yes. because it's kind of like the symbolism and the connection of Historia being used is exactly like her ancestor, like the original Ymir, being used by all of those around her and living for everyone else. And what did it get her? It got her this eternity building titans over and over again and suffering for 2,000 years. And here Ymir's like, don't do that. Don't suffer that same fate. Like, be yourself. Live your life the way you want to live it. Uh-huh. Oh my God, look at that face! Yes! And she's like, she threw it on the ground! I'm an adult! Oh my God, yes! And her just like body slamming him! God, what a load of bull! You're just saying wherever you can think to manipulate me and save yourself. I've had enough. Granted, Historia's a little bit bipolar in this volume, but glad we went this route. She's like, bye. And then Kenny's like, yes, chaos. He's like, we're leaving, Eren. He's like, you need to eat me. You're part of the chosen bloodline. There's nothing special about me. It's bad if I keep on living. I can't go on living like this. And again, I feel like this is the first time it's been hinted at, like, for the last 15 volumes, but this is the first time Eren just comes out and says, I don't feel like I should live. And Historia's like, shut up, you idiot! Again, crybaby! Exterminate the Titans, what a pain in the ass. Who'd volunteer to do that? Humanity's the problem. We should just let the Titans destroy mankind. Well, now, damn it, Historia, why are you giving him ideas? It makes me humanity's enemy. I'm the worst, most despicable girl in history. I'm letting you get away from here, and then I'll destroy everything. Oh my God. You know, so now, having seen this over again, Historia's decision to let Eren and go do the rumbling and do whatever, it makes sense. Her being like, go Eren, do what I just told you down in the cavern. Go wipe everybody out with the Titans. I don't care. Makes sense. Yep, Father Uri. Wait for me, I'm coming. Uh-huh. Oh my God! Yes! Yes! Shit! Oh my God! Ah! That bastard. If someone from the Reese family becomes a Titan, he can just eat me here. It's fine. No! I'm humanity's enemy, but I'm your friend, Eren. I can't be a good girl, and I don't want to be a god. But when I see someone crying, saying there's no one needs them, I want to tell them that that's not true. No matter who, no matter what, I'll come to your rescue. Damn. And that's when everybody shows up. Everybody's like, well, how about this? Oh, and everybody helping Eren. You shirtless wonder! I hope John calls him that again at some point. I really hope he does. That's amazing. Yep. The roof's gonna collapse. And Eren just being like, how shitty can this day get? It's bigger than the Colossus Titan. Oh my God, yes. It just keeps getting bigger. Yes, oh my God. Can you imagine if Historia had been hit with that? Wasn't he going to eat me? Everyone's going to die. Oh. But the ceiling's caving in. My Titan's not big enough to hold everybody out. I'm going to get crushed. And everybody looking at him. I'm sorry when I was useless. I've always been from the very beginning. I was never humanity's hope. Armor. Yep, so the bag, it had all the different versions. Oh my God, the fact there were different versions in there. You had the Colossus, you have armor. Yep. And John's like, now you want to play the tragic hero? You've been able to settle everything on your own before, haven't you? This isn't the first time it's been this bad. Oh my God. Not like saying I'd get used to it, of course. It'd be hard enough to escape even if we didn't have to carry Eren and Historia as we flew. For the heat from the Titan will be probably burned to death if we get any closer. I love that he's like, there's nowhere left to run. So you just want to wait here and hold hands so we get crushed or burned to death? Because we're enemies of humanity? I'm sorry for always doing this, but Eren, you have to make a choice. I like that Levi's like, look, I hate having to bring this on to you every single time, but you know, this is your burden. I'm sorry, but you gotta make a decision at some point. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna just sit back and die with us, or are we gonna try something? I want you to let me do it just once. Let me believe in myself. Oh, Eren. So, honestly, thinking about this, Eren, in the present time, has the Founding Titan, the Attack Titan, the Warhammer Titan, and the Armor Titan in him, so he doesn't have to eat Reiner. He's got the Armor Titan inside of him. He doesn't have to eat Reiner. We're good. We're solid on that. He doesn't have to eat Reiner. He's got the Armor Titan ability inside of him. Look at that. Didn't even need to do it. So the only ones, he doesn't have the Colossus, doesn't have the female Titan, doesn't have the cart, doesn't have the jaw, and doesn't have, well, I guess he has Zeke with him, so maybe he does have the Beast Titan. So, yeah, let me believe in myself. God, just the idea of Eren being like, let me do something because I believe in myself to do it. Jesus. Oh, and that's the end of the volume? No! Oh, are you kidding me? That went by too quickly. That went by too quickly. No way. That felt like so much shorter than the last volumes. Ah, you're joking. Ah. Wow. Oh, he's back. Wait. Sorry, I'm late. Baggy Pants Leon appears. What? What? What is happening? What? The fudge? Why? Oh my god. Here, Historia, Eren, the 104th, the wall they face is unscalable unless they each make their own decisions. Oh my god. Wow. So, that volume went by so quickly. That went by so fast, y'all. Oh my god. That was a really quick volume. So yeah, just the parallels between Historia and Eren, Historia and the original Ymir, Eren and the original Ymir, the idea of setting stuff up, and just the idea of how Eren feels in this, that he feels like he feels like there's no point in him living because he's just caused all of this pain and suffering. And on the one hand, you kind of appreciate that by the time we get to Memories of the Future, Eren decides, no, I deserve to be here because I was born into this world. I deserve a place in this world, and I deserve to live. But then it transforms from him believing that he doesn't believe he should exist, to he has a right to exist, to he doesn't believe he's deserving of love, and is a monster, and if he's a monster, all he can do is just do things his way and hope that it works out for his friends, and it's like, yes, but... I was telling everybody in the Discord that I do definitely appreciate Eren's character a lot more reading the manga and going back a second time and seeing it from the beginning than I did in the anime, because I had a lot of problems in the anime with Eren, especially when we get to season 4. And I feel like seeing all of the nuances that Isayama gives us with Eren at this point helps to establish Eren's psychology. It helps to establish Eren's character, because again, we don't get a lot of insight in the anime inside of Eren's head. So seeing the manga and how it shows like the images of Eren's face and his expressions and what he's thinking, like it definitely helps paint a better picture. Now, as I've talked throughout this entire reaction in the anime, I feel like there's a lot Eren misses the mark on as a character that I'm like, if only you could see it the way that these characters see it, would it make a difference? And I feel like that's only going to compound as we go. But man, I'm glad that Historia is a wild character, right? Because there's times when I really like Historia, especially when she like throws it on the ground and like gets her rebellious streak. I think I'm going to like her in the next volume because of everything that comes to be with that. I still don't know if I'm going to read... I don't know if I'm going to read the No Regrets volume next week, or if I'm going to wait until the end of part 1 to read it, because we're very close to the end of part 1. Might wait till the end of part 1 to read No Regrets. I've got it purchased, so I'm just waiting till the right time. I think I'll wait till the announcement to figure out like the timing of when I should do everything. If I should do it in its own week or do it separate, whatever. But There's parts of Historia I like when Historia makes connections to like Ymir and to Frida and to herself and to Eren. I really liked that. But I'll be honest, when she was just like being brainwashed by Rod, and I understand why, like how fragile her emotional and ego state is, but I was just like, girl, stop. I get very, but now seeing it like it is, I'm like, well, I know why Historia went along with Eren and the rumbling, because she was like, no. Historia declaring herself as the enemy of humanity. The irony is that Erwin puts her on the throne and is like, nope, you're the ruler now. And she's like, you do realize that I'm like not a good girl, right? You realize what you're signing up for, right? And the irony is that, you know, she's the enemy of humanity, and then she fully endorses what Eren's doing, because she realizes that Eren with the rumbling, he's acting just like she did. Her sparing Eren, you know, she probably takes part in that responsibility, being like, well, I spared you, so who am I to tell you how to live your life? Because, you know, going back to Ymir said, live your life the way you want to, and Historia's like, well, I would be a hypocrite if I didn't let you go do this thing, so, you know, do whatever you think is right, even if I disagree with it, but, you know, I know we'll talk about it when we get to it. But yeah, oh my God. Getting backstory with Kenny and the Ackermans. I always feel like the Ackermans, I've got a pin in them because I want to keep finding out more about them and what the manga will give us. We'll see. Don't confirm or deconfirm. But the idea that Eren took the Armor Titan serum and ate it. I mean, technically, he's got the Armor Titan in him now. So maybe this is foreshadowing that Reiner will be spared. He won't have to die because Eren's already got the Armor Titan inside of him. Maybe. I guess we'll wait and see. But man, this volume went by super fast. But I'm really, really excited to see what we're going to get with it next week with whichever we do. If it's the No Regrets or it's volume 17, we'll find out then. But in the meantime, I'm excited to hear your comments down below. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'm back next week with some more of the Attack on Titan manga.